Jagex recently added 2 new cleaning items to the game, being the fletching and crafting cleaners. In this video, you'll learn all about them and if they're worth using, so whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you like my Runescape content, be sure to subscribe. Let's get started. The new crafting and fletching cleaners can be obtained through treasure hunter promotions, however, do not get your hopes up as they're quite rare at a 1 in 467 chance to receive a specific one. Thankfully, they're tradable, and because of other spin to win players, you're able to pick these up for less than 1,000,000 coins each. After buying these items, you need to activate them, to which they'll become permanently untradeable and then require some charges. These charges exist in the form of artisanal gears, which can also be won off of Treasure Hunter or bought at the Grand Exchange. And no, you're not able to create them using invention. Currently, these artisanal gears seem to be quite rare from Treasure Hunter, and for that reason, they're very expensive, and you're going to be spending over 1750 GP per artisanal gear. This is quite expensive as the Disassemble mode uses 2 charges per action and the Alchemize mode requires 5. In other words, disassembling will set you back 3,500 GP and alching will set you back nearly 9,000 GP. Now the Alchemize mode using 5 charges per action isn't entirely true, which we'll find out in just a minute. But let's start by talking about Disassemble mode. In Disassemble mode, you're able to disassemble items you either craft with the crafter or fletch using the fletcher. To clarify, it will only work on items that actually provide you with items if you were to disassemble them, so it doesn't work on Priv Harps and it doesn't work in your clan's citadel. This also means that these cleaners do not work on protein items, even though that would have been a nice feature for players with 200 million experience or simply trying to gain some more components. But other than that, it will work on pretty much every single item you either craft or fletch that uses items or is able to be disassembled. The only exceptions here are items that are created in smaller batches than required to disassemble. For example, arrows made in sets of 15, with the minimum disassemble amount or batch being a set of 50, meaning the auto disassembler will not work. If you're wondering, it does actually work in auto alch mode. As for urns, they're only able to be disassembled or alched in the firing process, so the second step of creating them. Now no one's going to ever do this, but just to state the obvious, if you're going to be making bows from scratch, so cutting logs and then stringing them, don't forget to turn off your fletching cleaner because you won't have any unstrung bows left to string at the end. Now alching mode is what you'd expect. You're going to be auto alching items when you're crafting or fletching them, which in itself is a cool concept. However, the issue is artisanal gears are just way too expensive. If you find an item that's worth alching, usually the profit margin is not going to be much higher than 2,000 GP due to the cost of nature runes and players simply not selling an item that far below alch value or high alch value. This means that if you're profiting 1,500 GP per raw dragonhide body normally, you'd now be losing 7,500 GP per item crafted, which is just not worth using the item for. It just isn't. Now the very reason the video is titled the way it is because in the current moment, this message right here is a lie when fletching bolts or arrows. For every single bolt or arrow you fletch, you will use 2 or 5 charges depending on the mode. So for arrows, since you make them in sets of 15, you're going to be using 75 charges if you're using the Alchemizer mode. Since you're able to make 2,998 sets of arrows per hour, you'd be using nearly 225,000 charges per hour, which is the equivalent of 393 million GP. In case of bolts, you can make 5,748 sets of 10 per hour, so 287,000 artisanal gear charges per hour, which is over 500 million GP at current prices. This item literally costs over $500 million to run per hour if you were to be making bolts and alching them. Now surely this was an oversight by the mods, but even then, I think this item or both of these items need to be rebalanced. It's way too expensive to use. Disassembling items should cost a single charge, if not be free, just like the spring cleaner is. Alching mode should only cost a single charge to make it usable at the very least, while still being far more expensive than regular alching, which is okay since you're skilling at the same time. It also needs to be a pocket slot item as it interferes with your skilling presets because it takes up that single inventory slot. And lastly, I think it needs to be added to Invention in some form or capacity. Be sure to let me know what you think of those changes down in the comments below. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.